your message, was the White House's message to Democrats who have expressed substantive concerns about the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Do you have any message to them or response to some of their criticism?
Is there a specific piece?
I mean, Congresswoman Susan Wild, for example, has said that, it's clear to me that we could not continue to put American service members in danger for an unwinnable war, but I also believe that the evacuation process appears to have been egregiously mishandled. So what's your response to something like that?
Look, I don't have any direct response to any member of Congress, but what I will say is that it is easy to throw stones or be a critic from the outside. It is harder to be in their arena and make difficult decisions. And the decisions that a commander-in-chief has to make include among difficult options, right? These were the options. You send tens of thousands of more troops in Afghanistan to potentially lose their lives. That's an option. Some support that. That's their prerogative. You pull out and you don't put anyone at risk, you don't put troops at risk, and you don't evacuate more than 105,000 people. That's another option. The option that he has chosen in coordination and based on the recommendations with his military commanders and advisors on the ground is to implement an evacuation that has saved the lives potentially of more than 105,000 people, certainly at risk of the men and women who are serving in the military, as we saw by the events of yesterday. That's the choice he's made.
But Jen, apologies to my colleagues, but you guys have said repeatedly, presented this idea that there were only two choices. What evidence do you have that there weren't other choices that could have been made? I mean,
what's the other choice anyone is offering?
For example, the president could have said to the Afghani government in May, look, we're going to start a mass evacuation of all of the U.S. personnel. We're going to put out an announcement that says, we advise all of our Afghan allies who work with us to start evacuating as well. It would have been a show of no confidence in the Afghani government. There might have been other repercussions. I'm not suggesting that's the right way to have gone. I don't know, but it is another option, and I'm sure there's 10 other options that I haven't thought of. So why do you present it as these being the only two options?
There are, of course, other options, but there are consequences to every option. That is my point. So let's take your example. If we had evacuated and moved in C-17s, 6,000 troops, I think that's what you're suggesting, and implemented this evacuation in May, you know what would have happened in all likelihood? The threat on U.S. forces would have increased at that point in time. ISIS-K.
But you would have been operating in a capital that wasn't overrun by the Taliban.
How do you know that?
Well, the Taliban wasn't near Kabul at that point.
Look, Mike, I think it's easy to play backseat. Let's look at what could have happened 3 months, 4 months ago. I think we've been clear on a couple of things, I will just say. No one anticipated, I think including on the outside, that the Afghan government would have fallen at the pace they fell. And the president and members of our national security team have spoken to that as well. We didn't anticipate the Afghan national security forces would have folded as they did. We didn't anticipate that. And as a result of that all happening, we saw a chaotic situation just 2 weeks ago. So you can always, my point in the response to the question is that there are consequences to any of these difficult choices and decisions. That is what faces you as commander-in-chief, and that was the larger point I was trying to make.